but our deals are still A number one, bar none. This week, mangoes are 2 for $1, lemonade.
Smart final, one trip and that's it.
And peace of mind, knowing Les Schwab did our tires, brakes, and alignment. Like Les Schwab, my family's safety is my first priority.
Save up to $200 when you bundle select tires, brakes, and shocks. And as always, get a free pre-trip safety check. Les Schwab Tires.
About what he's been missing.
It's been so weird. I haven't played in public for so long now. But we're all itching to get back, but only when it's safe enough, of course.
Today is We Can Do This Day.
Welcome to the show. My name is Charlton with Big C. This is Charlton and Big C Sports, coming to you worldwide on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C. And them good old boys down south, I want to say bienvenidos to all of our listeners in Latin America, also across the pond in London, England, as well as Paris, France. Of course, we love you in Canada and Africa, the Big C tribe. But there's no one we love more than the good old boys down south, in the land of the free and the home of the brave on a beautiful June the 2nd, 2021. Ronald Deportes, bonjour, Big C. How's it going for you good old boys down south?
Well, Charlton, we've been laughing all day down here because down in Churchill, down in Kentucky, Medina Spirit failed his second drug test.
No.
So you had the trainer and the horse pointing hooves and fingers at each other all day talking about, wasn't me. Medina said he told me it was a COVID shot. And Bob said, hey, I had nothing to do with it, so one of them will end up on the grill.
Yeah.
Once again, I want to thank our frontline healthcare workers, our nurses, doctors, and first responders. They always pass out needles, but they're clean.
So you said Funky Cold Medina is out along with owner Bob Baffert. Medina, high as a kite, floated her way out of Churchill downstairs and Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Bob Baffert was talking about, I had on my sunglasses. I could not read the label of the needle that I was putting in his butt.
Oh, my man. Be careful what you let people put in your butt, even if you're a horse. It's all fair and nothing more, Big C. Be careful where they put that needle. I want to say today's show is sponsored by here in Northern California. Cadillac dealers, home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, the standard of the world. When you go by and test drive yours, tell them Charlton and Big C sent you, as well as a fleet of Cadillac cars. Also, all around the world, just say Google or Alexa play Big C Sports Podcast. You will hear from our sponsors. You will hear welcome to the show. I will introduce Big C as the Mystic. He'll do his thing from 3,000 miles away, and I really do appreciate the way things are growing with Big C Sports. You can follow Big C Sports on Spotify. You can follow Big C Sports on Xfinity, Comcast TV, Apple TV, Roku TV, Amazon Fire TV, and a lot of smart TVs all over the universe. But you better have a smart TV, or you'll be sitting there looking at a still picture. Man, I love pausing, Big C, but I will never pause on the Veterans Crisis Hotline. They really are experienced helping veterans and their loved ones when they reach out for help. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, we talk about our veterans every day on our show, Charlton, about how important they've been to the democracy of America. We lose over 24 of them a day, Charlton, to suicide.
Yeah.
In this country, everybody wants to talk about health, getting medical coverage, Charlton.
Yep.
But you also have to understand that mental health is just as important as physical health, because you have to be able to function. Many of these veterans have come back mentally and physically distraught from their time in service, Charlton, and has not been able to have the proper treatment administered to them.
Yep.
And unfortunately, it has led to suicide. People must communicate, Charlton. That is the #1 aid against suicide, communication. Because if somebody is aware that you care and you demonstrate and show them that they care, then they know that they have an outlet. And that's what we have to let these veterans know, is that they have an outlet amongst American citizens and family members and friends, Charlton.
Yeah.
Communication will stop somebody from doing something negative. And America needs to be more engaged with its servicemen and women to help prevent this horrific disease, Charlton.
Very well said, Big C. Since you started our crisis hotline about 3 years ago, everybody is doing a crisis hotline. And whether they said it, they did it first or second, I know we've been doing it for every show. So I appreciate you bringing that on. If anyone needs help or they're veterans, all you got to do is pick up the phone and call 800-273-8255. That's 800-273-8255. Or you can text 838-255. That's 255. If you're online, simply go to veteranscrisisline.net. That's veteranscrisisline.net, and you can definitely get some help for our veterans and their loved ones. Also very happy to be affiliated with Valley Homes Weekly TV on Dish TV, DirecTV, AT&T Uverse, TV53, home of the San Francisco Giants and the Say Hey Kid, as well as the home run king Barry Bonds. When you reach out to him, just tell him Big C sent you. Our goal is simple: recruit 10,000 real estate agents and brokers all over this great country, helping to put people back to work, just like McDonald's does it, car dealerships are doing it, sports teams are doing it. Watch TV and real estate work for you. 800-772-8624. If you're looking for opportunities in real estate, go to bigcsports.pacwm.com. Most of our loans are underwritten by Rocket Mortgage, the #1 lender in the country on the wholesale side. I also want to say thank you to Xfinity Comcast TV and Comcast Spotlight for presenting Big C Sports to the universe. Just like God said in Genesis 1:3, let there be light. Open your cell phones and say it. Play Big C Sports Podcast. You will see all of our apps pop up, and I really do appreciate the way things have grown with Big C Sports. So Big C, man, I tell you, when you got horses that got to trust the owners, they got to trust the trainers, they got to trust the jockeys. Whether you're a horse or a person, you really got to be careful of what people put in your butt, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, Medina Spirit said he got good faith. Is what he said. He said Bob Bassett made him an offer that he couldn't refuse. He told him if you go out there and win 3 races, then he gets 3 fillies a day the rest of his life.
Yeah.
And all you have to do is just turn a blind eye and let me put this needle in your butt, and everything will be okay.
Now I understand why they put blinders on a horse. They can't see what they're putting in the horse's backside. It's all fair in Leavenworth, but I wish the horse nothing but the best. It's all fair in Leavenworth. Be careful, you guys out there. It's kind of hot, especially Northern California is hot. It's hot in Phoenix. It's hot all over the place. I hope that people are drinking lots of water, Big C, and staying hydrated. Check on your elderly parents or loved ones and make sure that people are staying hydrated, because this time of the year, Big C, oftentimes people have heat stroke and other issues, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, people have a tendency to forget about how the heat can affect the body, and you go about your everyday norms and thinking that, you've had enough fluid injection in your body, Charlton. You're going to have to take a little bit more in.
Yeah.
I mean, you may not take it the way the Medina Spirit took it, Charlton, with the knee, but, take a glass or a bottle of something and drink it down.
Yeah, don't take water to your backside, but it's good to put water on your backside when you want to wash that backside off. It's all fair and level. We're going around jerking the horses. That's not nice. But Big C, before I even start the show, sometimes if you've ever thought about having a dream or having a subconscious thought, sometimes they say if you love something, you let it go. And if it comes back, then it was meant for you. And the universe sometimes takes things out a long, long distance before it brings it back. I ask that everyone reach out to people that you care about, and sometimes it feels like they're going away, but they're not. It's all fair in Leavenworth. What I really wish would go away, Big C, and sometimes you and I have our own differences about different things, but Major League Baseball, Big C, the New York Mets, Marcus Stroman, he irked by racist undertones and cracked by analyst Bob Brenly. He's a very well-known analyst, Big C. The Mets pitcher, Marcus Stroman, he referred to racist undertones in a tweet. It was late Tuesday night, Big C, after television analyst, the great Bob Brenly. A lot of people have a high esteem of him, but he made some comments about the right-hander's head covering during the New York's game against the Diamondbacks, and some people say it was on the call for a Big C, but unlike a horse, he can't say he had his blinders on, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, no, Charlton, he had his eyes wide open about the comments that he was making, and he knew the negative rhetoric that he was spewing out. Regardless of him being a good manager, Charlton, he's a butthead when it comes to a broadcast.
Yeah.
When you're going to make these type of racial epithet comments about a player who was out there working hard to help his teammates win, but you're going to let the backlash of your previous life, Charlton, come into play and let everybody know what you're all about with your racist rhetoric.
Yeah, out of the heart, the mouth, so to speak. Brenly, a former World Series winning manager who now calls the Arizona Diamondbacks games for Bally Sports in Arizona, Big C, made a crack about Stroman's attire during the 4th inning Tuesday. Pretty sure that's the same, do-rag that Tom Seaver used to wear when he pitched for the Mets. Brenly said during the telecast, I guess he thought that he was off the mic, Big C, but Stroman, who is a black man, has been outspoken on issues concerning race and social justice. The media will turn it against me now somehow if he publicly criticized Brinley, who is a white man. And Arizona happens to be the same state that turned down passing a Martin Luther King Jr. holiday 2 times, Big C. And I don't want to put everybody with the same paintbrush, but that was a bad thing that he did, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charles, it's not about painting anybody with a paintbrush. It's about painting Bob Brinley. He was the butthead who made this statement on an open mic during the broadcast, Charles. And that he didn't think he was off air. He knew he was on air.
Yeah.
And he wanted to make this snide comment, Charlton, because he's had white privilege his entire life.
Yeah.
That you can say whatever you want about a black man and get away with it.
Yeah.
I think he should lose his job, Charlton, because at some point racism has to stop.
Yeah.
And when it starts costing a white man money, that's the time that he recognizes he no longer should be racist.
Yeah, people do more to avoid losing money and avoid death. Big C is all fair and love and war, but we will see what happens when they deal with the ramifications, if there are any. And speaking of staying down, and there's a lot of good things coming out of Phoenix. It's very hot. What that good old boy Nelly said, it's getting hot in here, but it's not hotter than Phoenix, Big C. It's all fair and love and war. But the Phoenix Suns, they made LeBron James look away, Big C, riding an orange wave of support in the desert, the valley of the sun, Big C. It's a done deal for anybody out in the desert if you don't have water. So the Lakers have, sometimes the universe will bring you what you need. And God said, let's get those Lakers back to some water and bring them back to Southern California for another day so they can rest up and go back to the sun. But the Suns, they sent the 4-time league MVP to the locker room early and took control of their first-round playoff series. It was a 115-85 dismantling of the Los Angeles Lakers, Big C, on a Tuesday night. And I don't think I've ever seen the Lakers play this bad, Big C. Your thoughts?
I don't know if they were playing that bad, Charlton, other than get their butt kicked. I mean, you got to give Phoenix all the kudos in the world for this game.
Yeah.
They came out from the jump start, Charlton, and dominated. They don't know what Lakers need. They don't know anything about the Lakers' history, Charlton. These guys are young kids. Most of them wasn't even born when the Lakers were in their heyday. So that's how you got to look at that. They look at themselves as professional basketball players.
Yeah.
Men of leisure going out having fun against a bunch of old dudes. And that's what they did last night, Charlton. They went out there with youthful enthusiasm and ran the Lakers into the ground.
Yeah.
The 10-man was nowhere around, but I don't even know if the 10-man could have helped last night.
No, they were like Medina Spirit. They had something in their butt too, Big C, but it was called a Nike tennis shoe. The Phoenix Suns put something in the butt of the Lakers, a Nike tennis shoe. The Lakers put up a little resistance, allowing Phoenix to score nearly at will while building a 30-point halftime lead. And the Los Angeles' largest halftime deficit in 25 years. I wonder what guys like Kareem and Magic and Shaq were thinking. I heard some of Shaquille O'Neal's thoughts, but that's not Laker basketball. They got to find a way to rebound, and I think they will, Big C. Phoenix made 8 3-pointers. They were 26 of 48 shots and had 1 turnover. They led 66-36 at halftime, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, this was a team, Charlton, that's on a mission. This is youthful enthusiasm. I mean, you know, unless you're a fan and think that the Lakers will be invincible forever, Charlton, that's not true. Even iron wears thin. LeBron James has been great his entire year. Yes, he's never been out of the playoffs in the 14 years he's been in the league in the first round, Charlton, making the playoffs.
Yeah.
But everything comes to an end at some point. You know, I think there was a song, Turn Out the Lights, the party's over. Danny Dan used to sing that all the time on Monday Night Football.
Yeah.
The Lakers are trying to find a turntable to put that album on.
Yeah, they got to turn off the lights. But what did Teddy Pendergrass say when he said turn off the lights and light a candle? She didn't turn off the lights when Teddy said, turn them off! Sometimes you got to be more forceful. And LeBron James and the Lakers got to be more forceful. But the Suns, they kept the gas on, Big C, even as James becomes more aggressive in the third quarter. LeBron scored 17 of his 24 points in the third quarter with the Suns. They had a 29-point lead before both teams emptied their benches in the fourth. The Suns lead the series 3-2. We know the Valley of the Sun can be very hot, Big C. They're 1 win shy of becoming the first team in 15 tries to send King James packing in the first round of the NBA playoffs. And I don't think it's going to happen, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, you got to look at this, Charlton. The Phoenix Suns can dominate from the outside.
Yeah.
And that's what they did last night, knocking down the threes. The Lakers are a paltry three-point shooting team.
Yeah.
And where are the Lakers going to find firepower? You can't pack it down in the paint enough if you're trying to run with the Suns, Charlton.
Yeah.
LeBron James will shoot his offense out of a game because if he's your only three-point shooter and everybody else is scared to hoist up the basketball, Charlton, you have no chance against the Phoenix Suns.
Yeah.
And like I said, the Phoenix Suns have no fear of the Lakers. They were the second-best team in the West their entire season, Charlton, and they feel that way going into this next game against the Lakers.
Yeah.
Win or lose, the Phoenix Suns are still a better team than the Los Angeles Lakers.
Well, they are a dominant team, and they look better when the Lakers are when they're hurt. But Anthony Davis said, King Davis, Big C, he's been watching Lion King, and he saw Mustafa, Big C, and he's going to come out like the Lion King or the Willis Reed if he can. But it's all fair in love and war. I really wish all of these players just stay healthy.
If Anthony Davis shows up, that limp walk will be real short because he can't run up and down the court at the pace that the Phoenix Suns are going to run him through. He's going to be like Medina Spears. Where's he needed?
Big C, you just read my mind. Bob Baffert's been spotted in Los Angeles. It was a bag full of something, Big C, so be careful. He knows what Anthony Davis' backside is, Big C. So it's not as big as a horse's backside, but it's big enough to find.
Well, where did Anthony Davis go to college at, Charles?
He went down to the South. I think he played in Kentucky, Big C, the Kentucky Derby.
Okay, so where's Churchill Downs at?
Same racetrack with the same needles.
Okay, so if you see Anthony Davis running around on the court this next game for the Lakers, look at the stands, Charles, and you'll see Bob Baffert around.
They say the needle doesn't fall far from the horse. It's all fair. Be careful when people put your backslide, Anthony Davis. It might help you win a game. It's all fair level war. I want to run to the Eastern Conference, Big C. The great Kevin Durant, the great Kyrie Irving, and the great James Harden. Can you believe only one of these guys had the championship, the great Kevin Durant, when he played with Steph Curry and Klay Thompson and the Warriors, Big C? And now you think about it, Big C.
Kyrie Irving has a championship.
Well,
playing
yeah,
with
you're
LeBron.
right. You're right. With LeBron, Big C. He did the thing with LeBron. And with 8 games together in the regular season, they think about this. They put together enough to figure out how they could beat teams, even though they have a tough mountain to climb with Giannis Antetokounmpo. But this is a great trio, Big C. 5 games against Boston. It provided some answers and a chance to keep making up for all their lost times, Big C. When you think about Harden, who was going to be my MVP before he decided to pull a hamstring, you know how sometimes guys pull a hamstring, Big C, it's all fair level work. Think about it. Harden dropped 34 points, 10 rebounds, 10 assists. He did Ice Cube. He messed around and got a triple-double, Big C. It was all fair level war for his first postseason triple-double with Brooklyn leading the Nets into the Eastern Conference semifinals. It was a 123-109 victory over the Boston Celtics on Tuesday night. And Big C, this team can really play, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, a lot of people forget how complete a player that James Harden is, that, he gets the triple-doubles. And, he and Westbrook were teammates at one time, and they both were synonymous as, well, actually twice in OKC and Houston. And they both on the frequency, Charlton, got triple-doubles. But James Harden is the heart and soul of this team, Charlton, because he's unselfish, and he does not mind doing the dirty work, as people only want to look at him as being a scorer.
Yeah.
But he got this team off and running last night. And Brooklyn, they were running, Charlton, and Boston had no answers. I told you they would eliminate Boston last night, Charlton, and they took care of business at ease.
Yeah, they even made the coach decide he wanted to step aside. And you have the great Harden, played at Artesia High School, Southern California, and Westbrook played at Lucinger High School down in Southern California. 2 California boys. It's all fair in love and war, Big C. I want to think about the great Kyrie Irving. I'm telling you, he has the greatest dribbles I've seen since Curly Neal with the Harlem Globetrotters, dropping 25 points. The great Kevin Durant, he dropped in 24. That's almost like a half day's work for Durant, Big C. He can get 40 on anybody if he wanted to, but he did that for the Nets. They're going to face the big mountain, the Milwaukee Bucks, Big C. Their first appearance in the second round since 2014, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, the Milwaukee Bucks, this is going to be an outstanding series. I think this potentially will be the best series of the entire NBA playoff, Charlton, when you look at the 2 equally talented teams going at each other. A lot of size, a lot of length, a lot of speed. These guys will be out there, and it will be spectacular basketball played on the East Coast.
Yeah, it really will be, Big C. The number 2 seeded Nets will host Game 1, Big C, against Giannis Antetokounmpo and the Bucks on Saturday. I know when you see a buck, you like to put them on the grill, but these Bucks can read. They saw their brethren being put on barbecue grills over Memorial Day holiday, Big C. When you turn up the heat, they want to get off the grill, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, these guys can read that no crossing sign, Charlton, so they've been very well educated.
Yeah.
But when you think about the athleticism on
Yep.
the Bucks, and everybody wants to look at Giannis,
Yeah.
you got to look at Drew Holiday, who's going to have a big game. You got to look at Middleton, who's going to step up, Charlton, and do his role finally in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Lopez has been playing outstanding in the center, and I think that will be the X factor in this game. How do you match up against him?
Lopez out of San Joaquin Memorial High School. There's a lot of California Predators doing their thing in the world of the NBA, but they all got to be careful of what people put in their backside, Big C, unlike Medina Spirit. I mean, you got to be a really mean person to give steroids to a horse, Big C, your thoughts?
Well, no, Charlton, I mean, you do whatever you got to do to win. Like I said, Anthony Davis is out of Kentucky also, just like Medina Spirit.
Yeah, and the needle doesn't fall too far from the horse. It's all fair in Leavenworth War. The theme of today's show, be careful what they put in your butt. It's all fair in Leavenworth War. Big C, speaking of other great basketball, there's a lot of good basketball being played. And I kind of feel for one of Oakland's finest, Big C, the great Damian Lillard. They call him Dollar Dame or Dame Dollar, whatever it is. He knows how to do his thing. A record-breaking night when he was hitting one shot after another from behind the arc and almost beyond belief. It was like a TV commercial, Big C, but it was the great Michael Porter Jr. who quietly sank the biggest basket of them all. And that's what playoff basket is all about, Porter said after the thrilling and concluded game. It's a dozen lead changes, 11 ties, Big C, including long threes by Damian Lillard and forced overtime in the second overtime, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, I mean, when you look at this game, Charlton, it was fantastic in every way. But the storyline of this game is that Dame dropped 55 and still lost the game.
Yeah.
That's the bottom line. You think about all of what he did last night, Charlton. He accounted for 85 of Portland's points.
That's amazing.
Through baskets and assists.
Yeah.
But it still wasn't enough because Nikolai Jokic was on the other side of the court, Charlton.
Yeah, it's all fair in Leavenworth War. It was a great game. I wish they had it, put it on television. They had some other game on TV. And you know what's ironic, Big C? And we talked about it before. In the Denver market, they're having an issue with Comcast TV. You cannot see the Colorado Avalanche, and you cannot see the Denver Nuggets on TV in Denver. I guess maybe they got to get some type of other, I guess they have other apps they can buy and watch them from outside of the city. But that's crazy, Big C. When you think about it, Michael Porter Jr., his three-pointer from the left corner barely flooded the net, Big C, with 1:33 left in the second overtime. And it proved to be the game winner as the Denver Nuggets, they put out an epic performance by Dollar Dame, Big C. They came back. The Portland Trailblazers were amazing, but they came back and lost that game. If that makes any sense, they were down, I think, by 20 points at one time. They took the slight lead, but they ended up losing that game 147-140 on Tuesday night. Game 5 of the best of 7 playoff series. And I know people want to see Dollar Dame shoot the ball, but it's rare you're going to have 2 back-to-back 50-night points, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, you can say people want to see him shoot the ball. I mean, even Denver wants to see him shoot the ball because you take his teammates out of the lineup, Charlton. They get out of the ebb and flow of the game. I keep telling you that all the time. When he scores like that, Charlton, it's difficult for the rest of the team to get into that rotation.
Yeah.
You got to have balance. He was the only player, Charlton, for Portland last night to score over 20 points. Think about that.
Yeah.
One player in an epic game like that, Charlton, on your roster scores over 20 points.
Yeah.
Denver had 3 players, Charlton, that scored over 24 points.
Yeah.
And that's the difference in the game.
Yeah, the difference in the game. Plus that Mile High City, and sometimes people come in a little bit relaxed because of the 4:20. I heard tip-off was 4:20 p.m. I said 4:20, that's an odd time to tip off, but it was Denver, Big C. When you think about it, the great Porter finished with 26 points. Nikolai Jokic dropped 38 points and came 1 assist shy of trading offense to Ice Cube, messing around, getting a triple-double. Monte Morris dropping 28 points off the bench, Big C. And then Dollar Dame, he broke Klay Thompson's record for Golden State. When you think about what he did, a record night included a franchise playoff record, 55 points, an NBA playoffs record. He had 12 three-pointers, and he did that in one game, Big C. Your thoughts?
Yeah, but the difference between him breaking Klay Thompson's record and setting a new record, Charlton, Klay Thompson's record came with a win behind it. His comes with a loss.
Yeah, it came with a loss, but he did his part. Other people, if they can step up, it's all fair in Leavenworth War. It was just a great game. One of the greatest games that people in Denver couldn't see. It was the best playoff performance I've ever seen, said Portland Trailblazers coach Terry Stotts. Now, that's kind of rubbed me the wrong way if the best playoff game you've ever seen was a loss, Big C, I'm not saying prop betting, but I'm saying maybe that Cole Medina Medina Spirit isn't the only one that's been getting something in his backside, Big C.
Well, he's talking about an individual performance, Charleston, the way he put out. Like I said, he accounted for 85 points last night for the Portland Trailblazers. To have one player in a playoff game account for that many points, I mean, you're on point, but like I said, your teammates, when you don't have anybody else on the roster getting at least 20 points, Charleston, that you're taking your teammates out of the ebb and flow of the game.
Yeah, and it really does, Big C. When I look on the other side with the Denver Nuggets, Joker did his thing. He's dropping 38 points, but as we mentioned, Porter Jr. at 26 points and hit that miraculous three-point basket from the corner of the court, Big C. It's not just hoping that Joker can do his thing. They got to have other guys step up. McCullough's got to step up also. And I would love to see Carmelo Anthony not just bow out in the NBA playoffs. Might be even his last playoff season. It's all fair and love and war. We're going to take what's called the Big C pause, also known as the Big C timeout. And I feel really bad for anybody who has a horse. Please, when you look at Medina Spirit, be careful what you let people put in your butt, Big C. Sometimes it's not always fair, even though it may help you win a race. In the words of the great Arnold Schwarzenegger, we'll be back. All right, we are back from the Big C pause, also known as the Big C timeout. You can follow Big C Sports 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on the #1 podcast network in the universe, iHeartRadio Podcast. You can follow Big C Sports on Apple Podcasts. You can follow Big C Sports on Google Podcasts. There's so many apps, and I really do appreciate the way things are going with Big C Sports. I want to say thank you to Xfinity Comcast TV and Comcast Spotlight for presenting Big C Sports to the universe. Just like God said in Genesis 1:3, let there be light. Open your cell phones and say play Big C Sports Podcast. You will see all of our apps pop up all over the world, and I really do appreciate the way things have grown with Big C Sports. I want to touch on a little bit more of the NBA. We know we have some big games tonight, Big C. Really can't wait to see what goes on in New York City. I hear that New York City has been attacked by some birds coming out of the south, and it appears they come with bad intentions, but we'll touch on that a little bit later. NBA basketball, Big C. The Boston Celtics, they announced today the great Danny Ainge, he's going to retire. And Coach Brad Stevens is being promoted to president of basketball operations. Big C, what's going on in Beantown?
Well, Charleston, I mean, you think about Danny Ainge. He's had a long run there in Boston as a player and in management. He's won multiple titles. He's won as a player and he's won as management. You can't find many people in the NBA that has accomplished this feat, Charleston. But in 17 years, he's made the playoff 14 times as management of the Boston Celtics and also won an NBA title, Charleston.
Yeah.
So when you think about his illustrious career, it's been great. He started out as a professional baseball player, Charleston. His rookie year, he played baseball with the Toronto Blue Jays.
Yeah.
And in his first at bat as a major leaguer, he hit a home run. So you can say this man has had nothing but success since leaving BYU.
Yeah, he's been in the zone for a long, long time. He's been in the zone, Big C. And even when it comes to Boston, and no matter what they do, that's a team, a proud organization, 17 NBA championships, only tied by the Los Angeles Lakers with 17. I want to just caveat with this organization in Boston. NBA Boston Celtics fan who threw a water bottle at Brooklyn Nets star, the great Kyrie Irving, on Sunday night has been identified as Cole Buckley. He's a 21-year-old, foolish person out of Braintree, Massachusetts, Big C, according to the Boston Police Department. And Buckley faces one count of assault and battery with a dangerous weapon in Boston's municipal court. And obviously, the law will take care of what that knucklehead did. And I hope that it really is a sound horn, a bullhorn, to let other fans know you can't do that garbage, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charleston, I hope the court does not offer him a plea deal, convicted, let him spend some time behind bars with Bubba and friends and see how he likes it up inside of it.
Yeah, be careful what people put in your butt when their names are Bubba and friends. It's all fair in love and war. I just think that people got to realize you can't put your hands on other people. You cannot pick up objects and throw them at people. It's all fair in love and war. WNBA schedule tonight, Big C, Thursday. And you think about it, it's coming up on Thursday. It's going to be tomorrow, so we'll touch on that tomorrow. But I love just acknowledging the women. They decide to go on pause tonight. There's a lot of good stuff happening in the world of the sports universe. And one thing that I really want to bring up, I know we have a lot of good games going on. And when I think about what's going on tonight, Big C, there's a lot of good things that are going on in the world of basketball. The game that's going to be in New York City, I kind of feel for New York because everything is magnified when it comes to New York City, Big C, whether it's baseball, basketball, football, hockey. But to me, it's a series where the Hawks have a chance to go into the Big Apple in the number one media market in the United States, and they have a chance to end the season for Spike Lee and the New York Knicks. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, it's been a miraculous run all year for the New York Knicks, Charlton, but the Atlanta Hawks are just a better team. When you look at the depth of that Atlanta Hawks roster, Charlton, when you can bring players off the bench and they can get into the lineup and score just like the starters, Charlton, this is a very difficult team to beat. They got length, they got defense, they got a rim protector, and they got a dramatic young point guard. Yeah, they got a young point guard. Young is, I think they call him Ice Tray, Big C. He has ice in his veins. He could also put on a little bit of weight. We're going to offer him the Big C burger. It is a tasty burger, and it comes with exotic meats, and I hear it's very popular. Anything with exotic meats is kind of popular in Atlanta. Big C, your thoughts? Well, Charlton, it's an exotic chocolate city.
The chocolate city of the universe. It's all fair in Leavenworth. Another great chocolate city, Big C, that has a hitch in his giddy-up. The great Joel Embiid trying to act like Anthony Davis. Got a little strain in his knee, I guess, Big C. So you have the Washington Wizards. They're playing the Philadelphia 76ers in this city of brotherly love. Joel Embiid has to be healthy for this team. I know they got Simmons. They got people that can shoot the lights out, Big C. But they built their whole team around this big guy. And you're only as healthy as your legs, Big C. Your thoughts on the Wizards maybe trying to extend this series, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, you know, you look at Embiid. You know, he has a slight meniscus tear, Charlton, in his feet. Whether they close out the Wizards or not, Charlton, they're not going to get any further in the next round because without him healthy, they don't have a chance. Yeah, you know, Capella down in Atlanta, not even knocking the Knicks out yet. I know Randall, he had to do his thing. They're always thinking about trying to do that thing. Some reporter even asked, I think he asked a player for the New York Knicks. So if you guys lose tonight, would you consider this season a failure? He's like, what are you talking about losing? We're trying to win this game. It's all fair and level where I can't wait until Sam Jackson makes that new commercial with Spike Lee. I'm tired of all these blankety-blank birds in this blankety-blank city. It's all fair and level war with the Atlanta Hawks invading New York City. Big C, there's another game. I know you like jazz. I like wine with my jazz. You tend to like moonshine for whatever reason. But that doesn't really go well with Grizzly. The Grizzlies are going into Utah tonight in the backdrop of the Wasatch Mountains. It's a 3-1 series lead by Utah. Quentin Snyder's been doing his thing as a coach. And the Jazz with Gobert and now Mitchell healthy again, Big C. Ja Morant might do his thing. And Brooks might do his thing for Dylan Brooks. But this is a game that Utah has. They have to have their wires wide open, Big C. This is a chance for them to close out tonight, Big C. Your thoughts? Well, you know, when you think about Memphis, they got a break in that first game, Charlton, because Donovan Mitchell wasn't in the lineup.
Yeah.
When you look at the difference of this team with him in the lineup, Charlton, it's night and day. You're talking about one of the top 4 or 5 guards in the entire NBA. He just doesn't get the notoriety, Charlton, because he's playing in Utah.
Yeah.
But the players in the league know who he is.
Yeah.
Rudy Gobert is complete as a defensive player, Charlton. He can rebound and block shots with the best that's ever been.
Yeah.
And when you look at Ingles bringing that length to the outside, Charlton, and Mike Conley knowing the first time in 14 years he can have a playoff run in his career, he's not going to slow down against his old team. Yeah, it's all fair in love and war. I just look forward to great basketball. And my goodness, can people stay healthy? We have so many guys. LeBron's been injured. David's been injured. Chris Paul's been injured. Now we have the great Joel Embiid. Everybody has a hitch in their giddy-up. It's all fair in love and war. Big C, I want to touch on the NFL, which stands for the National Football League. For now, be careful when Baffert shows up with needles trying to put in people's backside to make them run. I hear some athletes actually do that, but I can't confirm or deny. Big C, it's all fair in love and war. 2021 Fearless NFL Forecast. It is a forecast from MVP to sack leaders to first quarterback benches and predictions in 15 categories. I have some thoughts, and I have a lot of thoughts about this upcoming season. It's just Big C's thoughts. And everybody has their own opinions, so don't get mad at me. And if we're going to do this, and let's do this thing big and bold, Big C, if we're going to think about projections, think about it, why not right now? So we might as well share them in particular form with the categories of my choosing.
And again, because why not, Big C? Some of these might actually come true. The great Bob Baffert knows things might come true when you put needles in a horse's butt, Big C. I know athletes don't do that, but I can't confirm it or not. MVP, quarterback, touchdown, Patrick Mahomes. Okay, this is not going to be going out on the ledge, Big C. This is a chalk, but chalk is necessary here. This good old boy threw for 50 touchdowns his first season as a starter, Big C. Your thoughts?
Charlton, he's thrown for more touchdowns in his first 3 years as a starter in the NFL than any quarterback in history. So, I mean, why not pick Patrick Mahomes? Is there a better arm or athlete in the NFL that's more dynamic than him?
No. No, not Big C. There might be coming out Justin Fields, but no, not right now. Defensive Player of the Year. I know you like defensive players, and I know you guys like to hold with impunity, and you never get called for a foul. And unlike Bob Baffert, you don't do anything to get bigger, stronger, and faster like Medina Spirit. Big C is all fair and love and war. Defensive Player of the Year, Tremaine Edmonds. This guy's about to break out as a massive defensive player, and I get a sense that the Bills already knew it. Best get his extension done ASAP. His speed and strength and his wingspan and balance and instincts are all otherworldly, Big C. He's going to be a very solid player on defense, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, you think about what he brought to Buffalo last year from the linebacker position, Charlton. I mean, and he's only gotten better. And it's time for them to extend that contract if they want to keep that defensive intact, Charlton. He's like a Khalil Mack up in Buffalo.
Yeah, he really is like Khalil Mack up in Buffalo, Big C, the guy that can just bring it on every play. Also, when you think about Offensive Player of the Year, I think about Russell Houdini Wilson, also known as Russell Touchdown Wilson, Big C. I don't think he'll play out his contract in Seattle, and I'm not sure that Russ would love everything that's going on around him. All this talk about, do they really want him there? Will they extend his contract or not? But think about this. I do see another 38 touchdown passes, maybe 40 in his future, and 5 or more games where he can do it on the ground, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Russ is going to be in Seattle. He's going to spend his career there, Charlton. I mean, you never heard him hold a press conference. He was the media. And you think about it, they only blasted the black quarterback during the off-season, Charlton, when it came about quarterbacks being disgruntled. They said only the black quarterbacks were unhealthy. And when they didn't respond with a press conference, they went after Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
He still has not responded with a press conference.
Yeah.
Russell Wilson will be happy in Seattle, and they bring in Julio Jones, Charlton. If they can make that trade happen, he'll be sleepless in Seattle.
He'll be sleepless in Seattle. It's all fair in love and war, Big C. Comeback Player of the Year, the great Von Miller. That good boy dealt with COVID, Big C. We knew he liked to chase the yard bird around the backyard when he was growing up. The great Von Miller of the Denver Broncos. Vic Fangio is now at ease with what he has. When you think about Big C, a little more at ease with being a head coach. Not that there aren't some rough edges in Denver to deal with, but he has a lot of toys to play with, and one of the best pass rusher in the history of the universe in the great Von Miller, Big C. Your thoughts?
They have a dynamic tandem on the outside, Charlton, rushing the passes. You think about Von Miller. He's going to come in with an attitude. He had ankle surgery and missed the entire season last year, Charlton. Had to spend his time in his backyard chasing his chickens. Now he get a chance to chase around some quarterbacks.
Yeah. Be careful when the backyard chasing chickens is all fair. It's nothing for Big C. The neighbors might call the cops. Those guys back there chasing chickens around, you never know when people call police for Big C. I think about Offensive Rookie of the Year. Kyle Pitts. I know some people say, Kyle Pitts, this guy's a machine, Big C, impervious to defenders and schemes. And when you think about it, even can play with pain. And everything else you think about great receivers. The great Matt Ryan. Yeah, they're going to lose Julio Jones, Big C. But Matt Ryan can throw to guys like this tight end, and they'll be trailing with a lot of games because they're always going to be trailing a ton of their games. And I think that's good for Matt Ryan's stats. Maybe not good for the Atlanta Falcons maybe making the playoffs, but they're going to have a great athlete in Pitts to grow and learn from. Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, he's one of the most dynamic receivers we've seen coming to the NFL over some era. And Atlanta Falcons, we saw last year how many times they were always playing from behind.
Yeah, always.
So this gives receivers an excellent opportunity, Charlton, to accumulate a lot of junk yards. And when you think about Pitts, he'll be at the receiving end of a lot of Matt Ryan passes.
Yeah.
So he can easily walk away with Rookie of the Year.
He can easily walk away with Rookie of the Year. Not so fast, my friend. There's a lot of good DBs in the South that don't want to hear an offensive player getting Rookie of the Year going deep. It's all over the universe, Big C. Defensive Rookie of the Year, Jamin Davis, Big C. When you think about this defenses, it's a big thing. He's the real deal, Big C. And then you add the linebacker and his unique abilities In his speed and acceleration, he has that quick twitch ability to get out of the play, Big C. And buying all of this, especially considering how weak this draft was in terms of surefire impact pass rushers, as a defensive tackle, he's a surefire impact pass rusher, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, when you think about this kid, Charlton, coming out of Kentucky, and he's got 4 first-round draft picks playing in front of him on the defensive line, all he's got to do is run downhill and hit people in the mouth.
Yeah.
So the SEC could put out 2 rookies of the year, Charlton, one on offense and one on defense.
Yeah, one on offense and one on defense. We know Oregon had the quarterback rookie offensive player of the year last year, and the great Justin Herbert out of Oregon, and the actually now Los Angeles Chargers as all fair in Leaven War. I want to bring it to Coach of the Year. And many people in the media, they want him to be Coach of the Year, Big C. They've always given him every accolade they could, saying he's a genius and he's a brain trust, and here's a guy that spends the night in the locker room and he never goes home. What happens to a man who never goes home, Big C? Your thoughts?
He ends up divorced, Charlton, and lonely.
And he might become a better football coach because of it, but you got to make the sacrifice. You got to sacrifice something. It's all fair in Leaven War. The first time this head coach became, I guess, a household name, they call him the Kingmaker, has truly elite NFL quarterback. In some people's eyes, the great Matthew Stafford, Big C, came from Detroit, and he has legit weapons around him. Their defense is always legit. Donald on defense, Big C. Ramsey in the back in the secondary. This is the team defensively. They're going to get the ball back to them. But can Matthew Stafford be what he was not able to be when he was in Detroit and never won a playoff game, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, he didn't have a supporting cast around him, Charlton, when he was in Detroit. Now that he's in Los Angeles, I look at it from this perspective. This is the guy that can get you 5,000 yards passing, Charlton.
Yeah.
But if you don't win the division, you got to look at firing McVay.
Man, I'm telling you, San Francisco 49ers are most likely going to win that division if they can stay healthy. I know Seattle's knocking on the door. Arizona's a tough out. And you think about the Rams. The Rams are good, but I don't think they get the division bringing in Stafford because they still have Jimmy G. And then Trey Lance of Jimmy D has a hitch in his giddy up. But Jimmy G has been to the Super Bowl. Russell Wilson's been to the Super Bowl. And then the only 2 quarterbacks now in the NFC West that have been to the Super Bowl. I don't know if Stafford's going to make that much of a difference. But Offensive Player of the Year, Big C, Part 2, the great Justin Herbert. I know you love duck. I know duck is an exotic Big C. I know it tastes great with the Big C burger, which is a tasty burger. But this good old boy, Justin Herbert, came out of the University of Oregon Ducks and now has a full offseason as a starter, Big C. After a full season as a starter, a far better offensive line in some people's opinions, and a coaching staff that's far more likely to put him in the best chances to succeed, even though I thought Lynn did a great job. But this guy is right in line for Part 2, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, I mean, this is an opportunity, Charlton, for Justin Herbert to get better. He has an outstanding receiving core down with the Chargers, and an outstanding running back. They made the first-round draft pick an offensive tackle to protect his backside, Charlton. So if he can improve in any kind of way in his sophomore season and not carry that jinx, they'll finish second in the division behind the Chiefs.
Yeah, and we had Medina Spirit needed someone to protect his backside, Big C. But Bob Stafford, when he gets around the backside, sometimes people get poked. It's all fair in Leaven War. Got to protect the quarterbacks. Big C, the AFC rushing leader, J.K. Dobbins. He's a good old boy out of Ohio State. He's elusive. He has the ability to adapt. Moving and shifting at his mesh points, Big C, makes him a true game changer in an offense that is zigging when everybody else is zagging. He's also game-breaking speed, Big C. I really like the way he runs the ball, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, for the Ravens to get any further, Lamar Jackson is going to have to throw the ball with his arms and not be running it with his legs. I mean, yes, it looks exciting that he's gaining 1,000 yards on the ground, Charlton, but he needs to add another 1,000 yards to his passing attack and get back in that 40 touchdown passing range.
It's all
fair. J.K. Dobbins is that explosive back that should benefit from that.
Yeah, just be wary of Bob Baffert, Big C, when guys need to get more performance. Be careful when someone offers you more performance at anything. It's all fair in Leaven War, Big C. NFC rushing leader, the great Christian McCaffrey out of Valor Christian High School in Colorado, Big C. They're a state power in the state of Colorado. Took his thing out to Stanford, where he even broke Reggie Bush's record, Big C. He will lead the NFL in yards from scrimmage. He's back from being injured. In combined yards by a wide margin, and picked right up where he left off in 2019. That's if Sam Darnold can get on the ball, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, I don't know if he's going to benefit from the acquisition of Sam Darnold, because you're going to have a quarterback that's not putting any type of threat on the defense. So they're going to be able to corral, McCaffrey when it comes down to that, Charlton. And I don't think he's going to have that bounce back year going back to 2018.
Yeah, I thought they made a mistake by letting go of a touchdown Teddy Bridgewater, but hey, it's all fair and level war. The sack leader, I know you like sack leaders, Big C. The great Bradley Chubb, he will grasp fully what Fangio has created for him as an edge-out rusher over Chase Young, and that's big words, Big C, as the sack leader. Chase Young is legit. Anyone that can even challenge him as to what he can be, Big C, also is legit, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Bradley Chubb was legit 3 years ago, Charlton, when he was defensive rookie of the year in the league. And now that he's back healthy after coming off that knee injury, Charlton, and he's going to have Von Miller on the other side, you got to pick your poison in Denver, because they're going to stay high on your backside.
Yeah, they don't call it poison now, Big C. They call it 420. It's all fair and level war. Be careful what you pick in Denver.
They got a 420 named poison.
Yeah, I've heard the hard way, Big C. Be careful what they give you. It's all fair and level war. When you think about interception leaders, a guy who reminds me so much of the great Mel Blount that played in the HBCU's, Big C, for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Minkah Fitzpatrick came out of Alabama. The Steelers made a rare trade to land him and will continue to play dividends. I think their defense, known as the Steel Curtain Part 2, is going to be even more legit, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, once they get all their linebackers back intact, this is going to be a very formidable defense. You got T.J. Watt with consistent pressure on the passer, Charlton, but Fitzpatrick will benefit that. He was a ball hawk last year in Pittsburgh, and he'll be even better in his second year.
He's going to be even better in his second year, Big C. First quarterback to be benched because of a non-injury, Big C. The great Andy Dalton, that good boy can sling the ball, Big C. The Bears will go with the veteran at first because a lot of people are still trying to save their jobs, and they take advantage of some time getting a new quarterback, Justin Fields, to get accustomed to things in the Windy City. They don't want to undermine or do anything to undercut his confidence. But if you think about it, moving up to get Fields and the draft, Dalton looks to be the first quarterback that's going to be benched for a non-injury. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, by October, Charlton, Justin Fields will be the starter in the Windy City, and he will blow the fans away.
Yeah, I really think whatever knuckleheads in the mainstream media said that a guy that's 6'3", 6'4", runs a 4.4 40, threw 50 touchdowns at 1 year at Ohio State. I think if you think about it, he never lost a game in the Big Ten, which had a lot of guys drafted on defense, and they said, well, we don't know if he makes the right reads. Oh, we don't know if he's good at getting the right play call. I think all those guys are going to eat their words. It's all fair and level where first quarterback bots, unfortunately, may not feel good to the guys down south, but Tua Tagovailoa came out of St. Louis High School in Honolulu, Hawaii. Also ended up under Nick Saban's paperback tree, Big C. For Alabama, he was drafted by the Miami Dolphins. There are plenty of smart clues and people who think about this, who do this business, and he thinks, maybe ranking too high at times. NFL teams who believe that the Dolphins coach Brian Flores is not really all in on Tua, kind of like swiping left and swiping right. They're always looking over the shoulders for the next best thing. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, I don't know if Tua will make it through the season as quarterback of the Miami Dolphins. He has not fulfilled the expectations that were expected of him coming out of college, Charlton. He's smaller than what people thought he was. He's not as elusive as he needs to be, Charlton.
Yeah.
And the Dolphins won't wait long, Charlton, to pull the string on him.
Man, the Dolphins, those fish, Big C, those fish are right ready to make a move. Even though you have New England Patriots going to be loaded, a lot of guys coming back. Buffalo Bills are going to be very good. The Miami Dolphins are nothing to run away from. They're going to have a good team, too. The New York Jets are still in rebuild mode, but it's all fair and level war. The best free agent, Big C, in fact, the best free agent signing, Joe Toney, Big C, the Kansas City Chiefs. When you think about this guy in Kansas City, everybody thinks they're already loaded. They don't need anybody else to get better, but they do need people to get better, Big C. The Chiefs had a massive area to address, and they addressed it, Big C. They did it over and over again, like Lionel Richie when he was doing his thing all night long. It's all fair and level war, Big C. And none better than Toney, adding arguably the best guard in football and giving up nothing but money in return. That's a good deal, Big C. Your thoughts?
Charlton didn't cost him any draft assets at the first down. What the Kansas City Chiefs did was rebuild that offensive line with Patrick Mahomes. If you invest a $500 million someplace, Charlton, you got to buy some insurance, and that's what they did with 5 new offensive linemen and Tony led the pack.
Yeah, he led the pack, Big C. I think it's a solid choice for them. It's all fair in Leavenworth. Where I want to talk about a little bit of African-American history on this beautiful June 2nd, 2021. The Vinny Vinny VJ, she came, she saw, she conquered, Big C. Black history on June 2nd, 1863. The great Harriet Tubman. She planned and guided a significant armed raid, becoming the first woman to do so in the Civil War against the Confederate forces. Simply deposed Big C plantations along it's called the Combahee River in coastal South Carolina. On the night of June 2nd, 3 federal gunboats set sail for Beaufort, South Carolina. Up from Combahee River, Big C, Tubman, the great Harriet Tubman, had gained vital information about where the locations of the rebels were and the torpedoes planted along the river from people who had traded information for freedom. Because of this information, the great Harriet Tubman, she was able to steer the Union ships away from any danger, and she led the ships to Pacific spots along the shore where fugitives from slavery were hiding and waiting to be rescued, Big C. It's known as the raid at Combahee Ferry, and the great Harriet Tubman is all to be given credit for it, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, I don't know if white people want to sit around and realize how influential black people have been in the history and the development of America. When you think about Harriet Tubman, Charlton, a former slave woman, actually became the first female officer in the United States Army. And in 1863, she led a group of men on an attack to save over 300 people, Charlton. A diminutive black woman who stood about 5 feet tall. And she led men with all the courage and revelry that you could ever have. But if you look at our history books, Charlton, they don't speak about the courage of black people, Charlton, during that time, and especially a black woman who stood taller than any man of her era.
I mean, everybody knows Dr. Leakey Regimental. All life began on the African continent out of the womb of a black woman. It's all fair in Leavenworth, Big C. Harriet Tubman and the 2nd Regiment of South Carolina Volunteer Infantry African-American Regiment destroyed millions of dollars worth of Confederate supplies and freed close to 800 people from slavery. Think about this, before she was Harriet Tubman, she was called a great general, a spy, and a nurse. Before the war, Harriet was also an enslaved girl, and she became a very young leader of all people, Big C, learning from her father and to read letters and to read the stars. Like we always see on Big C Sports, you can Google anything. They didn't have Google, but she could read, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, this was one of the things that white people feared that slaves should not be able to do, Charlton, read. But Harriet Tubman was very intelligent as well as very courageous. She did things that men would not do, Charlton. She stood up for a country that did not even love her, that would not even protect her, but yet she sacrificed her life and put it on the line to protect the people who really wanted to kill her as a person. So this shows us how black people have embraced this country over the decades and centuries, Charlton, even with all the vitriol that is continuously being raised against them, that they are Americans first before anything else.
Before anything else, and just like the great Harriet Tubman, you got to be willing to ask for what you want. It doesn't mean you're always going to get it, but at least ask. And I appreciate what she was able to do, Big C. Thinking about this, women of color, women's pro tennis, Grand Slam officials, they have what's called a come to consciousness moment, Big C. They offer support to Naomi Osaka, and they promise to improve tournament experiences. The leaders of the 4 Grand Slam tournaments, Big C, reacted Tuesday to the tennis star Naomi Osaka's stunning withdrawal from the French Open by promising to address players' concerns about mental health. There were other people that wanted to find her and kick her out of being able to earn a living because she was having mental health concerns. And they said, so what? You still got to speak to the media. But now, Big C, the pledge came in a statement signed by the same 4 tennis administrators. It says, on behalf of the Grand Slam, we wish to offer the great Naomi Osaka, ranked number 2 in the world, our support and assistance in any way possible. When you think about that, Big C, this is after the ridicule, as she takes time away from the tennis court. She's an exceptional athlete, and we look forward to her return as soon as she deems it appropriate. She's also an exceptional young person. I think she's made tens of millions of dollars as a young person, but that doesn't make you healthy, and she's trying to deal with that. Now they're trying to backtrack and offer support. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, money's not the issue and should never be brought up when it talks about mental illness. This is a situation that afflicts many people in America and around the world. It's not a dollar sign, Charlton. It is an issue when people have a problem dealing with crowds and having a problem dealing with other people.
Yeah.
And you think about the people in the media, they ask the same damn questions over and over.
Yeah.
You go to one press conference this year, you go to one 2 years from now. It's the same question. And I think this question that especially black athletes hate more than anything else, how does it feel to be a person of color and win? Hell, I'm a damn person.
Yeah.
Look at it like that. Right off the bat, the media throws the racial epithets at the athletes when they got to deal with a press conference because they're not looked at as human beings.
Yeah.
They're looked at something different. And you think about any of those people who are asking the question, Naomi Osaka can kick any of their butts out on the tennis court.
Yep.
Let them come out there and face her and see
Yeah.
how good she is.
Yep.
Don't sit there and ask her asinine questions that mean nothing, Charlton. Address her as an intelligent young woman with respect.
Yeah.
Don't come at her with vitriol and trying to nitpick at little bitty things, Charlton. Talk and praise her for what she is, being a success.
Yep. She's very successful. Mental health is a very challenging issue. We've been doing it on our show for 3 years, Big C. Now everybody's doing it, which deserves our utmost attention. It's both a complex and personal issue, and what affects one individual does not necessarily affect another. The great Naomi Osaka, she's only 23 years old, Big C, saying that she's experiencing huge waves of anxiety before meeting with media and revealing that she suffered long bouts of depression. Most people, when they go through their own personal stuff, they don't tell anybody. I'll also seek counseling for other issues that I've dealt with in my own life. It's made me better. It's nothing to be afraid of or ashamed of. I wish her nothing but the best. It's all fair and love of war. I want to close out with a couple of more stories on this beautiful June in 2021, June the 2nd, Big C. College basketball. One of the longtime icons of basketball, the Duke University basketball coach, the Gene Krzyzewski, Big C, 74 years old, known as Coach K, and been the head coach of the Duke Blue Devils since 1980. Known as Coach K, he's coached Duke to 5 national championships, 12 Final Four appearances, 15 ACC tournament titles, and 12 ACC regular season championships. He also left a very, very strong example of how to do it the right way, Big C. Your thoughts?
Charlton, he's been class and character in college basketball. The winningest coach behind only John Wooden, as far as championships on the college basketball level.
Yep.
One of only 5 coaches, Charlton, on the college D1 level to win over 1,000 games in their career, Charlton, and Coach Krzyzewski has done it. He's also won Olympic gold medals, Charlton, in coaching the Olympic basketball team on the men's side. You think about 35 appearances in the NCAA tournament, Charlton, tied for first most of all time.
Yeah.
And if they went by your criteria, he'd be number 1. He would lose to Charlton, not being able to get into it last year. But Coach K has been, a pillar of class and humility, Charlton, throughout his career. You haven't heard him talking about a lot of scandals at Duke since he's been the head coach there, Charlton. He has led so many young men into bright, sparkling careers, whether as a player, announcer, or a coach, Charlton. Think about Quinn Snyder, his protege, Charlton, having the most coaching wins in the NBA this past season with the Utah Jazz. But Coach K has done it all, and he's done it all the right way, Charlton. When you think about the academic prowess of Duke and how hard it is to get players into that university, he even has players in NBA ownership. Grant Hill is one of the part owners of the Atlanta Hawks that are playing in New York tonight.
Yeah.
So when you think about every level of basketball that Coach K has affected, Charlton, mentoring these young men throughout the decades, he sits on Mount Rushmore.
Yeah, he really is a great. I wish him nothing but the best. Just a class act, and I'm sure a lot of people can learn from him. Final story, Big C. The pitch hit deep. Right field, back to the wall, home run. Everybody loves the home run. They hear that girls love the long home run ball, and men love hitting it deep, Big C. Wednesday, June the 2nd, Major League Baseball schedule. San Diego Padres at the Chicago Cubs. New York Mets at the Arizona Diamondbacks. Minnesota Twins at the Baltimore Orioles. Tampa Bay Rays, they're at the New York Yankees, Big C. The Miami Marlins at the Toronto Blue Jays. Washington's at Atlanta. They'll probably have another home run hit in Atlanta tonight. Boston, Big C, they're at Houston. The good old boys from Texas, the Rangers, are at the Colorado Rockies, Big C. St. Louis Cardinals, they're at the defending World Series champion Los Angeles Dodgers. At Chavez Ravine, the Oakland A's are up north at the Seattle Mariners. Philadelphia, They're at Cincinnati, the Big Red, Big C, and your friend Tony La Russa with the Chicago White Sox. They're in Cleveland, and as they always want to say, does anyone have anything to drink, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, you know it's always happy hour somewhere with Tony La Russa.
Yeah, that's all fair. In Leavenworth, I wish everybody nothing but the best. There's a lot of things going on around the sports universe. People putting needles on the horse's backside. Be careful what you let people put in your butt. That's why they put blinders on that horse. Be careful when people put blinders on you. It's all fair in Leavenworth. NBA basketball, the great Sam Jackson and the great Spike Lee, they're saying, I'm tired of seeing all these Blakely Blakes Hawks in this Blakely Blake city. It's all fair in Leavenworth, like Alfred Hitchcock, the Birds. Big C, so much, Kate. You know, a lot of great things have happened. The great Naomi Osaka, a young woman of color, telling people I need to just take a pause, get some things together, and she doesn't need criticism. She needs love, peace, and soul and support, and I wish her nothing but the best. Everybody deserves somebody to reach out and touch their hands. At the same time, everyone is getting hot. It's getting hot and humid. Make sure you stay with libations, stay hydrated, do everything you can to stay safe. Big C, back in the day, there's a man by the name of Drew Boudini Brown. He was known as Muhammad Ali's right-hand man, and he would always tell Ali, float like a butterfly and sting like a bee. Rumble, young man, rumble. With all you've got to use, how can you lose? Big C, what are you looking forward to in this sports universe?
Well, Charlton, when it gets too hot on metal, metal will expand. So you got to worry about the 10-man in Los Angeles in that next game, Charlton, as he walks out on the court with a gimp. Maybe they need to find an oil can to move him up a little bit, to move him up and down the floor, get him out of that 420 shot. But, Charlton, once again, I want to thank our frontline healthcare workers, our nurses, doctors, and first responders. Maybe they can give him a shot of adrenaline and some painkillers, Charlton, to get him up and down the court.
Yeah, I told you the great Bob Baffert was seen in Los Angeles. Be careful of what they put in your butt, even if it helps you win. It's all fair in Leavenworth. I want everyone to rise and shine. If you love someone, pick up the phone and make the call. You can follow Big C Sports 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on the #1 podcast network in the universe, iHeartRadio Podcast. You can follow Big C Sports on Apple Podcasts. You can follow Big C Sports on Google Podcasts. There's so many apps that you can follow Big C Sports, and I really do appreciate the way things are going with Big C Sports. As my mama always says, there's never ever an excuse for racism or domestic violence. If you know any man, woman, or child going through that garbage, please pick up the phone and ask for help, because no man, woman, or child should ever have to go through that garbage on their own. And as we always tell you on every Big C Sports show, we thank you, we appreciate you, and we hope that you have a super fantastic day.